Fallout 2 explicitly makes fun of Republicans by name, but no one calls it a woke game because it is a fun game first. And most of the people who would get angry about it today are casuals who would get filtered by the archaic interface and boring intro dungeon. The reason WoW private servers were better for community was because there were no logs and streaming was a risk, so there was no reason to try and be someone via flexing with parses, or mounts, or titles, or gear. Especially because it could be wiped if a DMCA came. All you had was each other. It was made and played by passionate people, not people looking to use it as a vehicle for self-promotion or money or ego trips. Because it's harder to brag to people not in the know about clear times on a private server versus saying what percentile your damage was as a simple number. Political messages feel worse in games because they usually happen during the cutscene of an already boring and generic story, so not only is gameplay being interrupted, it's being interrupted with a lecture. But if the gameplay is good and the cutscene visually interesting, you could get away with it. Compare Raiden vs. Armstrong in Metal Gear Rising going viral, and Raiden talking to JFK at the end of Metal Gear Solid 2 not, despite both being explicitly political. When companies tell you about the character's gender identity or sexuality in a game, it's probably because they have nothing else to tell you, and are most likely using it to drum up buzz to maintain trending status. This is most likely requested by marketing, not the devs. Back in the day, you would not hear from devs for months on end, but in the current digital climate, constant interaction is either expected or required. It's less people constantly bringing up and more maintaining a constant news cycle. Toxicity in games peaked in the mid-2010s because game publishers spent the early 2010s and late 2000s saying, "We want the Call of Duty audience," and now every game has it, warts and all. Especially given how FOMO games are advertised or made as they rely on a service from the creator to work. People play games they don't even like because everyone else is and demand changes on it, or just take it out on everyone else because they are unhappy but can't stop playing the game of the month with the crowd. MMO PvPers, especially world PvPers, tend to be conservative because it reinforces the beliefs of everyone started at the same level with equal opportunity to succeed and did so based solely on their own skill. However, like in real life, this ignores that most people achieve through external support networks of other people. It is also like showing up to a fight with GDKP bought PvE gear and RMT boosted PvP gear and more people than saying you won through skill alone. And anyone who loses to you is unworthy of pity or remorse because if they wanted to win, they would have played 24/7 to earn items or bought gold like a rich person. This is all pretty much any right-wing villain from an 80s movie. If devs posting woke things on Twitter slows down the dev cycle and bleeds into the game, so do bosses and managers being drunk, not properly leading, and harassing employees. Large projects like games need directions, and they will flounder if the leads are busy creeping on the female employees or spending all day on Twitter writing political essays. It's still absent leadership either way. The fact that the Parkland security guard and Uvalde police refused to enter an active shooter zone, but we had a rash of cops shooting unarmed civilians, feels analogous to how people like high-risk, full-loot world PvP when they have the advantage in numbers and or firepower, but then cry about bullshit tactics, overpowered abilities, and "I was just innocently killing lobies in Stranglethorn Vale, then 360s jumped me, the Horde is so autistic, man, Blizzard ruined this game." There are people who will demand you respect Tracer's sexuality and then watch her and McCree in a porn animation together without a thought. If you complain about forced diversity as a shadowy cabal of blue-haired influencers, you would ignore the economics of the situation. The marketing department of these companies ran the numbers and found that playing to progressive politics makes more money, which fosters acceptance through exposure, which means more money for playing to progressive politics in a positive feedback loop. It's just economics, not politics. The presence or absence of political messages, woke and anti-woke messaging, protesting and counter-protesting things in games, needs the game to be good first. If I wasn't going to finish the game for the gameplay, I'm definitely not going to finish it for your lecture. As the greatest gaming and hot take said, if the game's not fun, why bother?